The twin moons of Varynthian Prime hung low over the arena city, casting silver-blue light across its spired fortresses and stormlit sky. For Daniel Hale, Earth's youngest cultural envoy, the place felt less like a diplomatic assignment and more like a living beast breathing around him. Everything on Varynthian was built for warriors: the architecture, the customs, the hierarchy. Even their greetings involved strikes, feints, or ritualized steps meant to measure strength. Daniel had been here 6 months and still felt outmatched in every room he entered. The Varynthians were tall, muscular, and unsettlingly graceful. Their elongated crystalline ears shimmered with changing color, an involuntary display of emotion Daniel still struggled to decode. Their skin carried faint, luminous sigils that pulsed with their heartbeat, giving them an ethereal, otherworldly presence. To them, humans were curiosities, shorter, softer, and too reliant on strategy rather than physical dominance. But Daniel knew one thing: if Earth wanted any respect here, he had to meet them on their own ground. Not through words. Varynthians dismissed words as the weapons of the weak, but through challenge, through physical proof. That was why he now stood in the Hall of Vows, a cathedral-like chamber carved from obsidian stone, illuminated only by the glow of thousands of bioluminescent torches. Warriors gathered in a semicircle, their sigils flaring with anticipation. Today was the registration ceremony for the Trials of Merit. Daniel had no business being here. Humans didn't enter the trials, ever, not even for show. Losing was expected. Humiliation was guaranteed. Still, he stepped forward when his name was called, ignoring the hissed laughter and flickers of mocking violet light from the watching warriors. "Daniel Hale of Earth," the herald announced, voice echoing. "State your intent." Daniel steadied his breath. "I enter the trials to prove my people's worth." Gasps, crackling sigils, a few amused snorts, then a voice said, "Let him try." A hush fell over the chamber. She stepped into view, Commander Seralyth. Daniel had seen her only once before, from a distance during a diplomatic procession. But up close, she was overwhelming, tall even for her species, with a warrior's build sculpted by decades of battle. Her skin bore radiant silver markings that pulsed like living constellations, and her hair fell in long obsidian waves, threaded with flickers of starlight, the rare trait of a Varynthian born during a celestial storm. Her crystalline ears glowed a deep molten gold, an emotion Daniel didn't know how to interpret. She approached him slowly, circling as if evaluating a weapon rather than a man. "So," she said, her voice smooth but edged with steel, "the human wishes to bleed in our sacred arena." "Only if necessary." "Then it will be necessary," she replied, mildly amused. "Your species relies on thought. Here thought bends to instinct, strategy bows to strength. Are you prepared to be broken, little envoy?" Daniel held her gaze. "I didn't come here to break easily." Her sigils pulsed in sharp interest, a rare reaction. The watching warriors leaned in. Seralyth stopped in front of him, close enough that her shadow enveloped him. "Then let us raise the stakes," she said softly, but loud enough for everyone to hear. "If you reach the final round, you may ask a single boon of me. Any boon." The crowd erupted. A boon from Seralyth, the undefeated champion of the trials, the high commander of the Storm Guard, was legendary, unheard of, dangerous. Daniel swallowed. "And if I fail?" Her smile sharpened. "Then you owe me a vow, a binding one. Refusal would mark your people as oath-breakers." He froze. A vow in Varynthian culture wasn't symbolic, it was sacred. Life-altering, public. She was challenging him, trapping him, testing him, but backing down now would end any chance of Earth being taken seriously. "I accept," he said. Her sigils flared bright silver, something like approval. "Good. Then pray, human, that you survive long enough to claim your boon." And with that, Seralyth turned and walked away, her warriors parting for her like water. Daniel's heart pounded. He had just bound himself, and by extension, Earth, to a trial against an entire warrior civilization, with a personal vow owed to the most powerful woman on the planet if he failed. And yet, as her glowing silhouette disappeared through the archway, a thought surfaced that he couldn't suppress. He wanted to understand her, not just as a warrior, but as a person. He didn't know why, not yet. Only that the way she had looked at him, with assessment and something akin to curiosity, struck him deeper than any blade might. Tomorrow, the trials of merit began at dawn, when the first rays of crimson sun sliced through the storm clouds and bathed the Varynthian arena in blood-red light. The air vibrated with anticipation. Tens of thousands filled the tiered stone seats, their bioluminescent markings flickering like a living ocean of light. Daniel stood at the eastern gate, palms sweating inside his wraps, feeling utterly human among towering warriors whose bodies seemed sculpted for combat. Even before the first horn sounded, he could feel their eyes on him, some amused, most dismissive. A soft violet glow spread through the crowd as whispers began. The human is here. He seeks death. He made a vow with Seralyth. Foolish creature. Daniel tightened his fists. His heartbeat thundered, but he forced his breathing slow. Panic was the enemy. Fear clouded judgment. He repeated the mantra he'd practiced for weeks: you can't overpower them. But you can outlast them, outthink them, endure what they cannot. A shadow fell across him. Draal Thuris, one of the trial officers, approached, tall, scarred, her crystalline ears a stern shade of slate gray. Human, she said bluntly, withdraw now and save face. Once the gates open, there is no retreat without disgrace. I'm staying. Her sigils flared in irritation. Your bones will break, your blood will stain the sand. Do you understand this? Daniel met her gaze. Yes. A long pause. Then unexpectedly, Draal's markings softened into muted blue, a rare sign of grudging respect. Then may the arena judge you fairly, she said, stepping aside. The gate opened. A roar shook the arena. Daniel stepped into blinding sunlight. The first round of the trials was not combat, but endurance. 6 warriors, including Daniel, were released into a vast, shifting arena whose pillars, platforms, and terrain rearranged themselves constantly. The task was simple: reach the central obelisk before time ran out. Simple for a Varynthian, anyway. The moment the horn blared, the warriors exploded forward, leaping, sprinting, climbing with inhuman grace. Daniel ran after them but quickly fell behind. Their legs were twice as long, their reflexes absurdly fast. The arena floor shifted beneath him. Platforms rose and fell. Stone cracked open. Daniel stumbled, rolled, narrowly avoiding a collapsing ledge. You fall already, a nearby warrior barked, laughing. Daniel ignored him, scanning the changing terrain. He had studied this. The arena reset followed patterns, subtle but predictable. He could use that. While other warriors sprinted blindly toward the obelisk, Daniel charted a route that minimized risk and maximized stability, timing each jump with precision. 2 warriors leapt for a rising platform too soon and were launched backward into a pit of harmless, but humiliating, soft sand. Daniel moved steadily, conserving energy, not powerful, not fast, but deliberate. When the final horn sounded, only 3 reached the obelisk: a Varynthian male, a Varynthian female, and Daniel barely but undeniably. Gasps rippled through the crowd. A human had passed round 1. Markings across the arena flickered in disbelief. As he exited the arena, still breathless, a figure waited in the shadowed colonnade. Tall, motionless, radiant, Seralyth. Her sigils glowed with cool, unreadable blue. She leaned one shoulder against a pillar, arms crossed, studying him, not with mockery, but with something far sharper. You survived, she said. It wasn't a compliment, it was an assessment. Daniel swallowed. I did. Barely. That still counts. Her crystalline ears shifted, a subtle twitch he recognized as suppressed amusement. Your strategy was unusual, she continued. Wasteful in some places, efficient in others. You do not fight like us. That's the point. I can't. Most humans would translate that as, I should give up, yet you do not. Daniel shrugged. I didn't come here to quit. Her gaze lingered on him longer than was comfortable. Finally, she said, do not mistake this victory for promise. The second round is combat, not to submission, to incapacitation. I know. You will face warriors trained since birth. Their bodies are stronger, their reflexes faster, their instincts honed. I know, he repeated. She stepped closer. Uncomfortably close. Daniel felt her presence like a gravitational pull, intense, commanding, undeniably beautiful in a fearsome way. You cannot win through power, she murmured. I'm aware. Then how will you survive? He met her molten gold eyes. The same way I reached the obelisk, one step at a time. A long silence. Then Seralyth's sigils flickered, silver, quick and faint, interest. Very well, human, show me what your steps amount to. She walked away, cloak sweeping behind her like a shadow with its own will. Daniel exhaled shakily. He'd impressed her, just a fraction, but enough to shift something in her posture, her tone. Enough that she didn't dismiss him entirely anymore. The second round began an hour later. A circular ring of obsidian sand, crowds chanting, warriors sharpening blades not to kill but to hurt, to break, to dominate. Daniel stepped into the ring. Across from him stood his opponent, a Varynthian named Corvin. nearly 7 feet tall, with broad shoulders and luminous crimson markings signaling aggression. His crystalline ears flickered with predatory anticipation. The referee raised his hand. Begin. Corvin lunged. Daniel barely dodged the first strike the second, but the third clipped his shoulder hard enough to spin him. Pain flared. Corvin laughed. Fragile creature. Daniel gritted his teeth. Fragile, yes, but not done. He let Corvin strike first, again and again, analyzing patterns, overcommitted right swings, slight pauses before footwork, breath shifts before power attacks. Then when Corvin overextended, Daniel slid beneath his guard and delivered a precise counter, nothing powerful but enough to unbalance him. The crowd gasped. Corvin snarled. Lucky insect. But Daniel wasn't lucky. He was learning him. Piece by piece, the fight continued. Daniel took more hits, searing, bruising, painful, but stayed upright. Each exchange gave him another sliver of data, another opening. Finally, after long minutes, he caught Corvin in a stumble and delivered 3 rapid strikes to the knees and ribs. The Varynthian arena was never truly silent. But after Daniel's improbable victory over Corvin, an uncanny stillness rippled through the stands, an electric pause, as though thousands of warriors collectively held their breath, trying to reconcile what they had just witnessed. A human had advanced to the 3rd round. Daniel's pulse thundered in his ears as he stepped out of the combat ring, blood warm on his cheek, ribs aching with every inhale. He expected jeers, mockery, maybe even hostility. Instead, he found eyes following him, less dismissive now, more calculating. He had shifted something, not much, but enough. The healing hall was carved from living stone, its walls shot through with glowing fractures of blue bioluminescent ore. Varynthian healers worked with efficient precision, their crystalline ears shimmering soft green as they attended to wounded warriors from earlier matches. A healer approached Daniel, an older Varynthian with silver-shot hair and luminous hands. "You endure well for your species," she said, applying a numbing salve to his cut. "Too well. Humans are not built for these trials." "We adapt," Daniel murmured. "Adaptation is not the same as survival." "On my world," he said, wincing as she tightened a brace around his ribs. "Those two things are the same." A faint glow rippled across her markings, mild amusement. Before she could respond, her ears flicked toward the entrance. A presence entered the hall, commanding, silent, impossible to ignore. Seralyth. Daniel felt her before he saw her, the shift in the room's energy, the way Varynthian warriors straightened instinctively, some lowering their gazes out of reverence. She walked toward him without hesitation, her movements fluid as dark water, her luminous sigils casting soft silver patterns across the stone floor. Even exhausted and bandaged, Daniel felt his breath catch. She stopped in front of him, arms folded, gaze sharp. "You fought with purpose," she said. Daniel blinked. "Is that criticism or praise?" "Observation," she said simply. But her sigils flickered, bright enough for him to read now. Interest. Curiosity. He was starting to understand her emotional colors, if only barely. "You used Corvin's strength against him," she continued. "You let him believe he was winning. You invited his overconfidence." "It worked," Daniel said. "Until it does." Her crystalline ears angled slightly. "Your methods are clever, but cleverness is finite. The next rounds will test more than endurance." "Then I'll adapt again." Her eyes narrowed, not in contempt but in assessment. Weighing him, reevaluating him, slowly, deliberately. "You are an anomaly, Daniel Hale," she murmured. "A species built for thought behaving like one built for war." "I'm not built for war," he said, "but I am built for survival." Her lips curved the faintest bit, a rare expression on a warrior of her rank. "I see." The healer approached again, clearly nervous. "Commander Seralyth, the human requires rest. You may speak later." "No," Seralyth said without looking away from Daniel. "Now." The hall grew even quieter. "This is important," she continued. "Do you understand the 3rd round?" Daniel shook his head. "It is a duel," she said softly, "but not like the one you fought today. The 3rd round is intimate. Close range, no weapons, no armor, pure instinct, pure skill, pure will." He swallowed, and my opponent. A long pause. Seralyth's markings dimmed, then brightened in a pattern Daniel hadn't seen before, storm gray mixed with molten gold. "Me." Daniel stared at her. "You're what?" "I am your opponent in the 3rd round." The healer gasped. Several warriors at nearby beds snapped their heads toward them in shock. Daniel felt his throat go dry. "You're the undefeated commander, the highest combat rating on the planet." "Yes, and I'm supposed to fight you." "Yes." He nearly laughed. That doesn't seem fair. Her expression remained unchanged, but her ears glowed faint silver humor. Life rarely is, on Varynthian even less so. Daniel dragged a hand through his hair. Why you? Why not another warrior? Because, she said, stepping closer, you reached the third round, and I wish to see why. His heart slammed against his ribs. This is not about spectacle, she added. Not about honor, not about humiliation. She leaned in slightly, voice dropping to something almost quiet, almost private. It is about truth, Daniel Hale. Combat reveals what words cannot. I want to see the truth of you. His breath hitched. The room felt smaller suddenly. Hotter, her presence pressed around him like a tide. And, she continued, I want you to see the truth of me. Daniel forced a swallow. Is that something I should be worried about? Her markings glowed bright, radiant gold. No. It is something you should prepare for. That night Daniel slept little. Seralyth's words churned through his mind, her closeness, her gaze, her challenge, and the vow. If he lost, he would owe her a binding vow, sacred in her culture, one that could shape the fate of Earth's relationship with Varynthian Prime. But if he survived against her, not win, just survive, he would earn the boon she promised. Anything, anything. Daniel wasn't naive. He knew the boon was a test, a lure, a measure of his intent, but he also knew something else. Seralyth wasn't mocking him anymore. She was watching, uncertain, curious, perhaps even intrigued. He wasn't sure which was more dangerous. At dawn, the arena thundered with anticipation. Word had spread like wildfire. Commander Seralyth, undefeated ruler of the trials, would personally face the human. Every seat was filled. The sands glowed beneath the rising stormlight. Daniel stepped into the ring. Seralyth stood already at the center, calm and radiant, her silver markings glowing softly across her long limbs. She wore no armor, no blades, only a ceremonial combat wrap that left her arms bare, revealing muscles honed to lethal precision. She raised her chin. Approach, human, she commanded. Daniel inhaled, exhaled, stepped forward. He could feel the heat of her body, the sharp awareness in her gaze. The referee's voice echoed across the arena. Trial of truth, unarmed. Unarmored to incapacitation, begin. Seralyth moved. Daniel didn't even see her at first, only felt the wind of her strike. He ducked instinctively. She swept low. He leapt back. Her movements were hypnotic, fluid, predatory, unstoppable. Every gesture a calculated test. Every strike a question. What are you? How far can you go? Will you break? Will you endure? Daniel blocked, dodged, absorbed, adapted. Seralyth's eyes grew brighter. Her sigils blazed molten gold. You learn quickly, she murmured mid-strike. I have too, he panted. You do. Another strike, he barely avoided it. Another. He staggered but stayed upright. Her voice dropped to something almost intimate. Show me more, Daniel Hale. He did. For every blow he took, he answered with resilience. For every strike she landed, he found a new angle. For every moment she pushed him to breaking, he found just enough strength to remain standing. It wasn't a contest. It was a revelation, for both of them. By the 10th minute, the crowd was roaring so loudly Daniel could barely hear his own breath. By the 15th, Seralyth's strike slowed, not from fatigue but from fascination. By the 18th, her movements changed, less testing, more intentional, not aggression, curiosity. At minute 23, Daniel's vision blurred, his body screaming, his lungs burning. But he didn't fall. And that was the moment Seralyth stopped, not because he defeated her, not because he could, but because he had shown her something she had never witnessed, a warrior without strength, who still refused to break. Her voice carried through the arena. Enough. The referee froze. Commander. Enough, she repeated. Her sigils blazed brilliant silver. The human stands, he endures, he reveals truth. Daniel woke in silence, not in the healing hall, not in his quarters. The room around him was dim, illuminated only by soft violet lamps embedded in the crystalline walls. The air carried the faint scent of starroot incense, something he recognized from Varynthian ceremonial chambers. He tried to sit up, but a sharp ache shot down his ribs. Before he could force himself upright, a voice drifted from the shadowed corner. Do not move quickly, your body is still recovering. Seralyth stepped into the lamplight. Daniel's breath caught. She'd shed her combat attire. Instead, she wore a flowing dark garment that draped around her like liquid night, exposing the luminous patterns on her arms and collarbones. The silver sigils shimmered softly with her pulse, mesmerizing and alive. She stood with her hands clasped behind her back, posture soldier straight, but something in her expression was different, less guarded, less carved from steel. You brought me here? Daniel managed. Yes, you collapsed after the trial. She paused. I was unwilling to leave you in the public hall. Unwilling. A faint ripple of gold flickered across her crystalline ears. You earned privacy and safety. Daniel blinked. Safety from what? She approached, footsteps silent. From those who see more than they should, she said. Your endurance surprised many. Some do not wish a human to rise any further in our hierarchy. Daniel swallowed. You're saying someone would try to sabotage me. Her sigils darkened to storm gray. Not while I draw breath. The words were simple. The tone was not. It was a vow, a protective one. Daniel felt his pulse spike, but Seralyth stepped back, regaining her formal calm. You asked for understanding as your boon. Very well. She gestured to the room around them. This is my private sanctum. It is restricted to the High Commander alone. No other warrior steps foot here. Daniel blinked. You're letting me. Yes. Her gaze held his. You wish to understand me. You cannot do so from a distance. He felt warmth rise in his chest. More than surprise, more than gratitude. Connection. Seralyth brought him water infused with healing salts. Daniel sipped carefully, watching her move with precise grace as she sat across from him. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Seralyth broke the silence. You fought me longer than any warrior in the last decade. Daniel gave a tired half-smile. I don't know if I fought so much as survived. And that, she said, is the part I do not understand. She leaned forward slightly. Varynthian instinct is simple. We fight to dominate or to defend, but you fought for something else, something more abstract. Earth, no. Her eyes sharpened. You fought for meaning. Daniel froze. How do you? I saw it, she said, in the way you refused to fall, in the way you chose pain rather than retreat, in the way your eyes stayed focused even when your body began to break. She raised a hand and traced a glowing sigil in the air, a gesture ancient and ceremonial. These are marks of a warrior who does not fight for glory or pride. You fight for purpose. That is rare among my people. Daniel swallowed. And what do you fight for? A long silence fell. Then her markings dimmed to deep indigo. For too long, I fought because I had nothing else. Daniel's chest tightened. She looked away, jaw tightening. Victory became my identity, my worth, my cage. Is that why you didn't finish the fight? Daniel asked softly. Seralyth's gaze snapped back to him, sharp, unguarded. She exhaled, slowly. When a fighter sees another's truth clearly, the battle changes, she said. Ending it for pride becomes meaningless. So you stopped out of respect. Her crystalline ears glowed bright silver. Yes. Daniel felt a weight settle behind his ribs, not pain, something else. Warm, dangerous, hopeful, she rose suddenly. Come, there is something I must show you before the council summons us. He followed slowly, muscles still tender, as she led him through a hidden passage. The doors opened into a vast balcony overlooking the entire arena city. Lightning rippled in the clouds above, illuminating towers of black stone and silver spires rising like blades. Seralyth stepped to the railing. This, she said softly, is Varynthian, beautiful, brutal, built on conquest and strength. Daniel moved beside her. It's incredible and terrifying. Her lips quirked, a fair description. For several moments they stood in silence, wind sweeping through the open terrace, carrying distant echoes of storm and song. Then Seralyth spoke again, quiet, but with a weight Daniel hadn't heard before. When you enter the fourth round, the council will examine your intent. They will question your motives. They will judge not just your body, but your spirit. Daniel nodded. I expected that. They will also judge me. He turned to her. Why you? Her sigils dimmed. Because I broke the tradition of unyielding dominance. I halted the duel. I acknowledged you. That's not wrong, Seralyth. In their eyes, she murmured, it might be. Daniel felt instinctive anger rise. Then I'll make them see. No, she said sharply, then softer, no, this is mine to carry. She stepped closer, eyes searching his. Your boon was understanding, so hear this truth. If you continue to rise in these trials, your fate will intertwine with mine in ways even I cannot predict. He swallowed, I know. Do you? Her voice lowered. This path leads into danger for you, for me, for our people. Then tell me one thing, Daniel whispered. Do you regret accepting the fight? Her expression softened, not in weakness but in something far deeper. No, she said. You showed me something I have not seen in many years. What? She hesitated, a long, heavy beat of silence. Then, a reason to hope. Daniel felt the words land like lightning. Seralyth stepped back abruptly, breaking the moment. The council summons us at dusk, she said. Rest, prepare. The council chamber of Varynthian Prime was not built for comfort. It was built to overwhelm. Colossal pillars carved from thunderstone rose like the ribs of some ancient titan. Mirrors of polished obsidian reflected flickers of bioluminescent markings. A circular arena dominated the center, reserved for trials of judgment. Above it, 10 Varynthian counselors sat on high crystalline thrones, each one an elder warrior who had survived more battles than most civilizations had histories. Daniel entered with measured steps, a cloak draped over his shoulders to hide the fresh bandages beneath. His muscles still ached, his ribs still throbbed, but his mind was steady, because at his side, walking just half a step ahead, was Seralyth, the High Commander. Her presence alone shifted the air. Conversations died. Markings dimmed in wary deference. Even the counselors leaned subtly forward when she entered. Yet Seralyth walked with calm dignity, silver sigils glowing in slow waves across her arms and neck. She took her place behind Daniel, not beside the council, not above him, behind him, a silent statement. She was here for him, support, witness, protector. Daniel's pulse steadied. The head counselor, Elder Verx, rose. His crystalline ears shimmered with cold, storm-blue authority. "Daniel Hale of Earth," he began, voice echoing through the chamber. "You have reached the 4th round of the trials of merit. You have defeated warriors stronger, faster, and more experienced than yourself. You have endured against Commander Seralyth longer than any living combatant." Murmurs rippled through the room, agitated, doubtful, impressed. "This council now evaluates your intent," Verx continued. "For the trials are not merely a measure of physical skill, they are a revelation of purpose." Another counselor, Elder Ristra, stood. Her markings glowed sharp crimson. "Why do you fight, human?" she demanded. "Fame, pride, to infiltrate our traditions, to earn influence you have not yet proven worthy of." Daniel inhaled deeply. "I fight because Earth wants respect," he said. "And your people respect what is earned in the arena." Ristra's ears flicked dismissively. "Many species want respect." "Then let me answer more clearly," Daniel said. "I fight because I want to understand you." A ripple sharp, startled, unpredictable. "And because," Daniel added, "I believe understanding leads to peace, to alliance, to something stronger than distrust." Ristra scoffed, "Pretty words." But another counselor, Elder Chiron, his markings soft amber, leaned forward. "You could have died in any round," he said. "Yet you continued. Any lesser being would have abandoned the trials after one blow from a Varynthian blade. Why persist?" Daniel hesitated only a second. "Because your people push others away by demanding a level of strength that most cannot reach," he said. "But humanity has a different strength. We don't stop." A faint tremor spread through the chamber. Seralyth's sigils pulsed, slow, warm silver. "And if that persistence," Chiron asked, "cost you your life?" Daniel looked at Seralyth briefly, just long enough to feel her gaze settle over him. Then he answered, "Then I die proving that humans don't run from what matters." The council chamber vibrated subtly, shock mixing with something less tangible. Respect, recognition, but Elder Ristra was not done. "You survived the trial of truth because Seralyth ended the duel. Does that not shame you?" Daniel lifted his chin. "No." "Why?" "Because I learned something more important than winning." Ristra narrowed her eyes. "And what is that?" Daniel exhaled. "That your strongest warrior is willing to see truth over pride." Gasps, a flare of blue and gold across the council bench. Even Seralyth stiffened slightly. Ristra's markings flashed with offense. "You claim to understand her." "No," Daniel said quietly, "but I want to." A silence fell deep, weighted, electric. Seralyth stepped forward. "Allow me to speak." The elders froze. The head counselor nodded. Seralyth moved beside Daniel, her posture tall and regal. "This human fought with purpose, with strategy, with endurance," she said. "He fought not to dominate, but to understand, to adapt, to reveal the truth of himself. And he succeeded." Verx's ears twitched in caution. "Your judgment is clouded. You ended the duel prematurely." "No," she said, voice ringing like forged steel. "I ended it precisely when his truth was revealed." "And what truth is that?" Ristra demanded. Seralyth turned her head slightly toward Daniel. "That he is worthy." A shockwave of whispers. Ristra rose again in fury. "Worthy of what? Your trials, your attention, your—" "My respect," Seralyth said, cutting her off. "And my consideration." The chamber erupted, shouts, arguments, incredulous disbelief. Verx slammed his staff down, generating a crack of thunder that silenced the hall. "Enough," the elder commanded. "Commander Seralyth, clarify your statement." Seralyth lifted her chin. I recognize Daniel Hale as a warrior, not for his strength, but for his essence. Ristra hissed, a human, unthinkable. Yet undeniable, Seralyth replied calmly. Her markings glowed bright gold, unshakable conviction. And, she continued, should he pass the 4th round, I will invoke my right as High Commander to offer him extended cultural integration under my guidance. Daniel blinked. Extended integration. Among the Varynthians, that phrase held dual meaning, a political mentorship rare, and deeper, more personal ties rarer still. The chamber exploded again with emotion, shock, outrage, fascination. Verx raised his voice over the uproar. The council will deliberate. The elders retreated behind the stormglass barrier. The chamber dimmed. Daniel turned slowly to Seralyth. You said. I know what I said, she interrupted softly. You want me under your guidance. Her expression didn't waver, but her markings shifted from fierce gold to complex violet. Yes, she said, I do. He swallowed. Seralyth, why? Her crystalline ears flickered, an involuntary betrayal of emotion. Because, she whispered, when I fought you, I saw a reflection I did not expect. A reflection of what? Of someone who refuses to break, she murmured. As I once was. As I wish to be again. Daniel's chest tightened. A long moment passed between them, silent, powerful, unguarded. Then Seralyth stepped back just as the stormglass barrier opened. The elders returned. Verx spoke. Daniel Hale of Earth. The council has reached a decision. Daniel felt his heart pound. You will advance, Verx declared, to the 5th round. Seralyth's markings flared bright with pride, unfiltered and unmistakable. But Verx wasn't finished. And, he added slowly, you will do so under the observation and authority of Commander Seralyth. Daniel expected the 5th round to be another arena match, more bruises, more blood, more tests of endurance. That was how the trials worked. That was how they had always worked. But when Seralyth led him out of the council chamber, she did not guide him toward the arena. She led him downward, into the hidden levels of the fortress city, past armored guards who stiffened at her presence, past doors sealed by runes older than any human civilization. Daniel's footsteps echoed beside hers, the tension in the air thick and electric. Seralyth, he finally said, where are we going? To the chamber of echoed souls. That sounds welcoming. It is not, she replied, but it is necessary. They reached a pair of doors carved from stormglass crystal. The moment Seralyth touched them, the runes ignited, rippling with molten gold. The doors swung open silently. Daniel felt a chill crawl up his spine. The chamber was vast and circular, the floor covered in ancient symbols, glowing faintly in shifting shades of indigo, silver, and pale violet. But what caught his breath were the floating shards of crystal suspended in the center of the room, dozens of them, drifting in slow orbit around an unseen core. Each shard pulsed faintly with inner light. Seralyth stopped at the threshold. Her voice dropped. The 5th round is not combat, she said. It is revelation. Daniel frowned. Revelation of what? Her gaze met his, steady, unflinching, almost vulnerable. Your essence. He swallowed. I thought you already saw that when we fought. I saw your resilience, she said. Your defiance, your spirit. But the chamber reveals far more than that. It exposes what drives a warrior, what anchors them, and what threatens to break them. She stepped inside the circle of runes. Daniel followed. Immediately the air changed denser, charged, humming with ancient energy. The chamber will read you, she said. Your fears, your hopes, your secrets. If you are dishonest, even with yourself, it will reject you. And if it rejects me, Daniel asked quietly, you are cast out of the trials, she said, and your vow becomes mine to claim. Daniel felt his pulse spike. Seralyth's markings dimmed into a solemn shade of violet. I do not want that outcome, she admitted. Not for what it would demand of you, not for what it would demand of me. Then she stepped closer, her voice softer. But I cannot help you through this. The chamber must see your truth without my influence. Daniel exhaled slowly. Then I'll face it. Seralyth studied him for a long moment, long enough that he felt the warmth of her gaze like a physical touch. Then she said 3 words that hit him harder than any strike she'd landed. Do not fear. He tried to smile, easier said than done. She stepped even closer, so close he could feel her breath. You have endured everything placed before you, she murmured. You will endure this too. Their eyes met, gold to human brown, and Daniel's chest tightened. She lifted one hand, hesitated, then placed her fingers lightly on his jaw, warm. Gentle, unthinkably intimate. Return to me, she said quietly, no matter what you see. He nodded, She withdrew her hand, and Daniel felt its absence instantly, like something vital had been pulled away. Seralyth stepped back, signaling the beginning. The crystal shards in the center began to glow. A low, resonant hum filled the chamber. "Enter the circle," she said. Daniel stepped forward into the heart of the runes. The moment his foot crossed the inner ring, the shards shot upward, swirling around him in a cyclone of shimmering light. Daniel flinched, but Seralyth didn't move. She was watching him with fierce intensity, markings flickering in colors he didn't fully understand. Then the chamber activated, the world dissolved. Daniel stood in darkness. Cold, silent, total, then memories, flashes of Earth, his childhood, failures he rarely admitted, losses he never voiced, moments he was proud of, twisted by doubt, moments he regretted, sharpened by guilt. The darkness surged, shaping itself into forms, faceless, looming figures whispering accusations. Not strong enough, not worthy, out of your depth, a human among giants. A foreigner trying to matter. Daniel's breath quickened. His hands trembled, but he stayed standing. Then another figure emerged from the dark, glowing faint silver. Seralyth, or rather a reflection of her. Her markings flickered with disappointment. "You are weak," the echo said. "You do not belong here." Daniel clenched his jaw. "You're not her." The figure shifted, eyes turning gold, the exact shade he'd seen when Seralyth looked at him during the trials. "You seek her approval," the echo continued. "Why, she is beyond you, untouchable, too strong for your fragile human nature." Daniel felt the words trying to dig into him, twist inside him, but he straightened. "I don't need her approval," he said. "I want her understanding." The echo's eyes narrowed. "And why should she understand you?" "Because I am trying," Daniel said. "Because I respect her. Because she deserves someone who sees her as more than a weapon." Something cracked in the darkness. A faint light appeared. The echo lunged, becoming a swirl of shadows and doubt. Daniel didn't flinch. He stepped forward into the storm. It shattered. The darkness broke apart like glass, fragments dissolving into brilliant silver light. The chamber came back into view. Daniel gasped, falling to one knee. The shards, the real shards, floated gently around him, glowing with soft blue acceptance. He had passed. Seralyth strode forward instantly, catching him by the shoulders before he could collapse fully. Her touch was steady, grounding. "Breathe," she said. Daniel exhaled shakily. That was intense. Her markings pulsed warm gold. "You prevailed." "Barely, barely," she echoed. "Is still victory." He looked up at her. "How much did you see?" "Enough," she said quietly. "Enough to understand more of you." He swallowed. "And what do you think?" Her eyes glowed molten. "I think," she said slowly, "that there is a strength within you my people have forgotten to value." Her hand remained on his shoulder, not directive, not supportive, but present, close, protective. "And I think," she added, voice softening, "that I am not done learning who you are." Daniel's heart beat faster. Before he could respond, the chamber doors burst open. A messenger rushed in, breathless. "Commander, Elders Verx and Ristra demand your presence, immediately." Seralyth's markings dimmed in irritation. "For what reason?" The messenger swallowed. "There has been an incident." Daniel tensed. "What happened?" The messenger hesitated. "It concerns the 6th round, and the challenger." The name General Varen hung in the air like a blade. Even the chamber, alive moments ago with swirling crystal light, felt suddenly colder, heavier. The messenger waited anxiously as Seralyth's markings flashed with volatile streaks of molten gold and storm gray, emotions Daniel could now read clearly. Rage, fear, resolve, and something deeper, protection. Who authorized Varen's entry into the trials? Seralyth demanded. The messenger swallowed. The council invoked ancient right. Any Varynthian of rank may challenge a foreign contender if the trials reach the binding rounds. Daniel blinked. Binding rounds. Seralyth turned to him sharply. The 6th round decides allegiance. The victor claims right of guardianship or integration over the contender. Guardianship, integration, both phrases carried weight, but one chilled Daniel to his core. "And Varen intends to claim guardianship?" Daniel asked. Seralyth's jaw tightened. "He intends to claim ownership." Daniel froze. Varynthian ownership was not slavery, yet it was not freedom either. A guardian could dictate a contender's duties, movements, alliances. For a human envoy, it would destroy any hope of Earth's independence in Varynthian diplomacy. Seralyth stepped closer to Daniel, voice low and fierce. "I will not allow Varen to take you." He swallowed hard. "Seralyth, what is he to you?" She exhaled slowly. "He is the commander I replaced, decades older, cruel, ambitious, obsessed with restoring his lost title." Her markings dimmed into cold indigo. He despises that I surpassed him. He despises even more that I respect you. Daniel's heart pounded. So he's targeting me to hurt you. Yes, and now I'm the weapon he wants to use against you. Seralyth closed her eyes briefly, only briefly, but the gesture was so vulnerable it stole the breath from his lungs. You are not a weapon, she whispered. She opened her eyes, golden light burning through her markings. You are my choice. Daniel's chest tightened painfully. A moment passed, silent, electric, almost dangerous, before she finally spoke again. We must go. The sixth-round arena was unlike any Daniel had seen. A colossal circle of stormglass, suspended between towering pillars open to the storming sky. Lightning flickered above like cosmic veins. Thousands gathered, the glow of their markings forming a living mosaic of emotion, anticipation, fear, excitement, disbelief. At the far end of the platform stood General Varyn. He was enormous, taller than Seralyth, broader, with deep red and black sigils carved across his skin like war scars. His crystalline ears were jagged from past battles. His eyes glowed harsh crimson. When he smiled, it was all teeth and arrogance. So, Varyn boomed, voice echoing across the arena, this is the little human who has captured the High Commander's attention. Daniel felt Seralyth go still beside him, silent but seething. Varyn's markings flashed with malicious delight. I wondered what made you so interesting. He sneered, disappointing. You look like something that should break in one hit. Daniel forced a steady breath. You might be surprised. The crowd gasped at Daniel's boldness. Varyn laughed. I sincerely hope so. It has been far too long since I tasted proper blood. Seralyth stepped forward, eyes blazing. You challenge under ancient right, she said. But hear me, Varyn. If you touch him outside the arena, I will personally end your bloodline. The arena erupted in chaos, shouts, cries, flaring sigils. Varyn tilted his head mockingly. Such emotion, Seralyth. Are you certain this human is merely a diplomatic interest? Her markings flared gold. Prepare yourself. Varyn smirked. I already have. He turned to Daniel. Come, little Earthborn. Let us see what your truth is worth. The horn sounded. Varyn moved first. Daniel barely saw him, a blur of red light, a crash of impact. Daniel felt himself thrown back, air ripping from his lungs. He hit the stormglass floor hard enough to see stars. Seralyth shouted something, but he couldn't hear it. Varyn stalked forward. That's one. Daniel pushed himself up, ribs screaming. He forced a breath, and another. Varyn lunged again. But this time Daniel rolled aside moments before impact, letting Varyn's momentum crash into the stormglass with a thunderous shatter. The crowd gasped. Daniel rose slowly. Varyn snarled. Clever insect. Daniel wiped blood from his lip. Still standing, Varyn attacked with a spinning strike, faster than any warrior Daniel had faced. Daniel blocked, but barely. Pain exploded through his arm. He staggered, but didn't fall. Seralyth's voice cut through the storm. Daniel, watch his left side. His stance, see it. Daniel focused. Left side, heavier footfall. Right arm, dominant, breathing shallow on the exhale. A pattern. Daniel dodged the next strike, redirected Varyn's weight, and slipped under his guard, landing a hit, not strong but accurate, on Varyn's exposed ribs. The crowd screamed. Varyn froze, then turned slowly toward Daniel, markings flashing with murderous fury. You dare. Daniel shrugged exhaustion and clenched his fists. You said we came here for truth. Varyn roared, charging. This time Daniel didn't try to match strength. He used footwork, precision, timing. He made Varyn chase him, waste energy, force mistakes. Seralyth watched, breath caught, markings blazing brighter with every second Daniel refused to fall. Varyn slowed, just a fraction, but enough. Daniel slipped behind him, using all his remaining strength to sweep Varyn from his feet. The massive general crashed to the stormglass floor. The arena erupted, shockwaves of light, gasps, shouts. Varyn tried to rise. Daniel put a knee on his throat, not to crush, but to pin. The referee exhaled in disbelief. General Varyn incapacitated. Silence then. Pandemonium. Seralyth moved first, not with warrior precision. Not with cold command. She ran straight to Daniel. Before he could stand, she knelt and cupped his face in both hands, markings blazing brilliant, impossible gold. You returned, she breathed. His voice trembled. Of course I did. She inhaled sharply, like she'd been holding her breath for hours. The elders approached. The crowd roared. Thunder split the sky, but none of it mattered. Seralyth leaned close enough that only he could hear her. Daniel Hale, she whispered. By right of combat, by right of truth, by right of choice, I claim no ownership over you. He blinked, confused. You do. She smiled, small, soft, raw. No, she murmured. I choose something else. Choose what? He asked, voice barely steady. Her eyes burned like molten suns. You, she whispered, as my equal. His throat tightened. Is that allowed? Her smile widened. Not fierce, not arrogant, but radiant in a way he had never seen. It is now. The head elder stepped forward. Daniel Hale, Elder Verks announced. You have passed the trials. You stand as warrior of Varynthe. The arena exploded in light. Seralyth didn't look away from Daniel. Come, she said softly. Your place is no longer as outsider. She offered her hand. He took it. Her markings flared brilliant gold, the color of trust, respect, and something deeper, something growing, something chosen. And as lightning rippled across the sky, Daniel realized